Soviet Union 1917 to 1964, Stalinist Constitution and Stalinist Terror. The structure of government. Stalin extended on Lenin's structure but also worsened it. Congress met less frequently as Stalin preferred personally selected committees. He built up the party with loyal members in order to keep control, and membership doubled. The party still dominated the state. The 1936 Constitution was drafted by Bukharin and was said to be the most democratic in the world by Stalin. The Soviet Union was now a federation of 11 Soviets. The All-Russian Congress of Soviets was replaced by the Supreme Soviet. This was made up of the Soviet Union and the Soviet of Nationalities. Each republic had its own Supreme Soviet. He promised the support of languages and cultures, as well as yearly elections for all 18-plus people to vote, including former people, which were the bourgeoisie. In practice, the promised rights were largely ignored, and anyone who tried to leave were purged. Elections were not contested as they only had one candidate, the Communist Party, and the Supreme Soviet only met twice a year. Stalinism, the cult of personality. Stalin started promoting himself as Lenin's true disciple. The Short Course was written, which was a Soviet history book, where Stalin assumed an important role in the revolution. Photos were doctored to remove enemies. Many praised him because they benefited from his rule. However, he was seen as the Red Tsar as he received the same support the imperial family once had. He was also regarded as a godlike figure. Does that sound familiar to you? Opposition, Stalinist terror. Stalin in opposition in 1932. He extended on Lenin's terror to enforce collectivization. He sent those accused of sabotage to labor camps, but soon ran out of space in prisons, so built gulags on Lenin's old labor camps. The OGPU controlled the labor camps until 1934. The crisis of 1932. Leonid Smirnov held secret meetings which criticized Stalin. When found out, he was expelled and his followers arrested. Ryutin also criticized Stalin and was eventually arrested and shot in 1937. Zinoviev and Kamenev were also expelled as they knew about his criticisms but didn't report them. In April 1933, there was a purge against branded Ryutinites, people whose loyalty was questioned, and these were mostly new party members. The Kirov Affair. Stalin announced that anti-Leninist opposition had been defeated, but Bukharin and others challenged him. Stalin and Kirov shared the role of secretary of equal rank. This spread responsibility if they failed at anything, but Stalin was now the same as others in rank. Kirov was murdered in 1934, and 650,000 were arrested for terrorist plotting. This included 11,000 farmers, and 250,000 members of the party were expelled. The Great Purges. In August of 1936, there was a show trial of Zinoviev, Kamenev, and 14 others where they were executed. In January 1937, 13 communists were sentenced to death for plotting with Trotsky. In March 1938, 21 Bolsheviks were interrogated for conspiring with Trotsky. In May or June 1937, 8 senior military commanders were arrested, tortured, and were made to sign false confessions. There was also a purge of military personnel, with 512 executed, 13 suicides, and 59 in jail. The Yezhovshchina. Yezhov was the head of the NKVD, and he was committing purges on ordinary people. In July of 1937, he targeted musicians and artists. The Politburo condemned them as anti-Soviets. They then purged armed forces and leading party members. Stalin blamed Yezhov as the purges were no longer needed. Prisoners were then released and Yezhov was shot in 1940.